touching, no intimacy, no emotional anything, because we don't want to argue about whatever. How do you think that affects the kids? When they see us doing that, we are shaking in them what a marriage is supposed to be. So they watch their parents. And that's where you get some kids that say, you know what, the last thing I want to do is get married. Why? Oh, my parents fought all the time. Or, oh, my parents never even, they just lived together. They're like roommates, but they're never touched. I never saw my dad kiss my mom. People say that all the time. My mom and dad now were very lovey-dovey back then. They argue like cats and dogs now. They're both in their 70s. Go figure. But, but the interesting thing is, we go through relationships and we see this, and we never know that because we decided the easiest way for us so that we can keep peace is what we say. In our mind, we go, we're going to keep peace, so we're just not going to say anything about it. We're not going to have that. That's a forbidden, taboo discussion in our house. We're not going to talk about that. And it causes that tension, and the two, you'd be surprised how long you can live with somebody and just not interact with them. Have no interaction. You actually go and sleep in the same bed, no interaction. You get up and you really don't eat together. You just kind of say please and thank you, and you just act cordial. Thinking you're putting on a front in front of the kids, and it's not working. Because non-verbally, you are speaking quite loud to them. And you're painting a picture of what marriage is supposed to be. And then we bring them to church and want them to be Christians. That's the other killer part of it. We do these things, and then we expect them to somehow iron out the difference in what's supposed to be spiritual and what's not. But emotional cutoff, a distance, is our tool of using it to not have to deal with the problem. We'll just be emotionally cut off from it. Simply what this means is the basic relationship patterns result in family tensions coming to rest in certain parts of our family, whether it's between the spouses or on the kids. The more anxiety one person or one relationship absorbs, the less the other person might absorb or must absorb. This means that some family members maintain their functioning at the expense of others. People do not want to hurt each other, but when anxiety is chronically dictates behavior, someone usually suffers for it. If you look at a family as the four eyes on the stove, and one of those eyes is turned up, the heat becomes the anxiety, and to wherever the anxiety lies, that is going to create the bubbling water, if you will, the boiling water. The idea is that those tensions or pressures or anxieties have to be dealt with within the family unit. Now, we choose to deal with them tons of different ways. Some of the ways is to just not say anything at all about it. Or the parents will try to do everything behind closed doors. Kids still here anyway. But they'll try to iron out behind closed doors, and that doesn't work. Sometimes they include the kids on it. Sometimes they don't. But the bottom line is you end up having this struggle that either way is going to affect them emotionally. And like I said, it's the heightened anxiety. Have you ever been in a place where you could cut the tension with a knife? And no one said anything or did anything, and they're just not saying anything, but you can tell it's a lot of tension. That's what that scenario feels like within a house. And kids, even as much as 4 years old, feel that tension. And they can't process it. They're just thinking, what's wrong with where we're at? And it changes their disposition. So we have to know that, but then there's some things that we can do about that we'll talk about in just a moment. Examples of that, actually, I think you guys kind of got that one, so I'm going to go through that. Differentiation of self. This is my favorite. Families and other social groups tremendously affect how people think, feel, and act. But individuals vary in their susceptibility to a groupthink, and groups vary in the amount of pressure they exert for conformity. These differences between individuals and between groups reflect differences in people's levels of differentiation of self. The less developed a person's self, the more impact others have on the functioning, and the more he tries to control, actively or passively, the functioning of the other. The basic building blocks of self are inborn, but an individual's family relationships during childhood and adolescence primarily determine how much self he develops. So what that means in short is that in every family, you have what we call this concept of differentiation of self. How emotionally attached are you to the family to where it controls you? So for instance, I am, for my family, there are 5 of us, my mom was dominant. And my mom could say something and we would hear her mouth and we would all start reacting to get her to be quiet. I don't know if she planned it or not, but that was her way of controlling us. Because when she would start up, boy, we would move. And do you see how she would then control us emotionally? We're emotionally attached to that. Now, my dad had this ability to act like he just didn't hear what she said. So she could talk and do all that, and he could start watching the game and tune her right out. We couldn't. He was detached from it, so it never affected him. But man, we caught it for it. Because she could go on and on and on and on. And so we're going to respond so fast because we're emotionally attached. Oh, mom's mad. Oh, my goodness. Oh, what we got to do now? What she want? What she wants to do? We'd be working. She'd be talking. We'd be looking at each other. Did you do such and such? Did you get in trouble? Who got in trouble this time? Who was that? Who did what? And she would be so upset, and we'd be responding to that tension. Start cleaning, start doing everything. Don't go anywhere. Don't ask for anything. You know, it would really cause us tension once she got started. But that's because we were poorly differentiated. If we were well differentiated, she could go on and we could say, all right, Mom, well, I'm going to go. I'll see ya. She might say, oh, you just don't care what I feel or how I feel. Well, sure, I care. Mom, you know I love you, but you're going through your thing, and I'll let you have your thing, but I'm going to go. I'll see you later. And be fine with it. Walk out the house, be fine. Know she's mad, but you're well differentiated.